ladies and gentlemen. The invitation to speak to you tonight at this major event sponsored by the Society of Logistics Engineers was unusually gratifying to me. I feel that I am participating with you in a history-making occasion that heralds the long overdue recognition of an ancient profession, that of the logistics engineer. Logistics really is an age-old function, but its practice has become sophisticated in our time. Modern logistics systems are the warp and woof of the fabric that holds our society together. They distribute not only the goods and services to fill material desires and needs, but also ideas that spread cultural, social, and economic progress. Logistics systems are oftentimes the instruments through which foreign policies of aid and assistance are accomplished, or the avenues through which the impetus of national will is exerted. The travels of Marco Polo in the 13th century will illustrate the spread of ideas. He carried the culture of Europe to Asia, and he brought home to Venice jewels, spices, and silk that bespoke the wealth and splendor of China. He broadened the horizon of the Europeans and increased their knowledge of the geography of Asia. His journey covered 17 years. Now, how would you modern logisticians like to work with that much lead time? The efficiency of our modern logistics system in the commercial world is taken completely for granted until, of course, our routine is upset. Did you ever notice how irritated your neighbor gets when his morning newspaper is not delivered on time? And for instance, the familiar illustration of the source of the food on your breakfast table this morning, orange juice from California, bacon from Illinois, waffles from North Dakota, maple syrup from Vermont, coffee from Brazil, sugar from Louisiana, and cream from Minnesota. Assembled, prepared, and served for less than $1, I would say that breakfast is a bargain, even with inflation thrown in. An efficient logistics system makes possible our worldwide markets. Wherever you travel, you will see Japanese transistor radios, Coca-Cola vending machines, American gasoline pumps, and French perfume. You are familiar with the confusion and discomfort that follow when our industrial logistics system is suddenly disrupted by natural catastrophes or strikes. Restoration of our logistics operation would be one of the major and most urgent tasks confronting us if we ever suffered a nuclear attack. The military has always been concerned with logistics. When De Soto was exploring the southeastern part of the United States, he carried along live pigs for rations. They slowed his travels, but he was uncertain about the resources of the land. When some of the pigs got loose, or were turned loose when abundant game was discovered, Arkansas got the Razorback hogs, for which its outstanding football team of today is named. The Spanish also brought horses to America. When some of these horses ran wild and multiplied, American Indians of the Southwest gained a logistical asset in their search for game on the Great Plains. The classic example cited by American military authorities today of the importance of good logistics comes from World War II. General George Patton's Third Army tanks were rolling hell-bent for leather across Europe when they simply ran out of gasoline. Since World War II, the United States Army has completely revised its logistics operations, creating logistics command units for management of logistics activities, stressing logistics equally with tactics in the training of commanders and staff officers, and reorganizing its technical services. The results of this new look by the Army at logistics have been impressive. The greatest logistics challenge in America today is the support of United States operations in Vietnam. Despite the difficulties of distance, primitive Vietnam development, rugged terrain, and unfavorable climate, that challenge is being met, as General Thurston T. Paul explained to you at lunch today. I thought that we had a tremendous logistics operation in Project Apollo, but that was before hearing his talk today. Now, getting 3 stages of a launch vehicle and the spacecraft and 3 astronauts down to the Cape for a trip to the moon before the end of this decade doesn't seem so difficult after all. We have a logistics problem coming up in space, however, that will challenge the thinking of the most visionary logistics engineer. As you know, we are currently investigating 3 regions of space: that near Earth, the lunar region, and the planets. Although our investigations of the moon, the planets, and deep space will yield immeasurable scientific returns, the earliest practical dividends from space will come from operations near Earth. Many of the characteristics of the Earth's surface and atmosphere, such as cloud patterns, are best seen or measured from a distance. The observation of the Earth by men and instruments in space, in the broadest sense, may easily turn out to be the best payoff of the entire space program. At the present rate of population growth, it is estimated that the people of the world will number between 6 and 7 billion in the year 2000 AD. And in the year 2035, just 35 years later, another 35 years later, world population may total 12 to 14 billion. This population growth will occur in a period when our children or our grandchildren will be directly involved. The task of systematically developing the resources of planet Earth to feed all these hungry mouths is of the utmost importance and urgency. In order to develop these resources, a much better, up-to-date knowledge of the status quo and of trends is necessary. Manned and unmanned spacecraft and satellites will permit continuous observation of Earth in such areas as crop planting schedules, crop diseases, salinity of the soil, harvest results, floods, droughts, soil erosion, hydrology, oceanography, and life patterns in the oceans, population census taking, etc. The technology to perform such work is already in existence today. The tools consist of the simultaneous use of sophisticated photography, remote sensing of a wide band of the electromagnetic spectrum, and side-looking radar. The data collected will help international humanitarian agencies to channel food to the neediest areas. This is a job for the logistics engineer. Vietnam, Project Apollo, and an exploding world population thus set the stage for the discussions of logistics in our symposium. We have been concerned with the significance of logistics tasks and functions in some of our nation's major civilian and military activities. While it is safe to say that all of us have undoubtedly been aware of many or most of the logistics requirements and problems under discussion, at least in a general way, I think it is also safe to state that many of us have not realized the enormous scope of the tasks performed in the logistics area. I hope the discussions bring about a better understanding of the fact that logistics support is a major portion of most large development projects. Logistics support, in fact, is a major cause for the success or failure of many undertakings. Here at the Marshall Center, we have assigned a major role to the logistician in the support of our design, development, manufacture, testing, and operation of space systems hardware. We have come to expect a great deal of these unique individuals. We expect the logistician to have the right number of spare parts of the proper configuration at the right place at the right time. We expect him to have trained personnel to perform the maintenance that will avoid launch delays. We expect him to have a system of transportation so efficient that as soon as the hardware receives the blessing of the final inspector, it will be transported quickly and safely to its destination. Transportation for some of our rocket stages has been difficult. They are simply too large for conventional highway, railroad, or air travel. Slow movement by water was the only solution until the ingenious pregnant guppy and super guppy planes arrived on the scene. These modified and enlarged Boeing Stratocruisers lopped weeks of our schedule in the movements of stages from the West Coast to the Marshall Center and to the Kennedy Space Center. We also expect the logistician to see to it that completed hardware is installed and checked out, using technically accurate documentation updated to the current hardware configuration. And we expect the logistician to see to it that all this happens without fuss, strain, or bother to the design, development, and test engineers and to the program managers. In short, we have come to expect our logistics managers something approaching perfection in the performance of a multiplicity of difficult tasks. We have come to expect these miracles routinely, every day, like the food on our breakfast tables. And perhaps this is one of the greatest compliments we could pay the logistician. I think that you will all agree with me that logistics is a demanding field with a strong technical and managerial challenge. And yet, in many instances, we have had to assign this highly important task to an otherwise highly qualified engineer who has no formal training for this field, simply because a trained logistician was not available. Now, this does not make a lot of sense. What can we do to assist the logistician to develop and improve his capability to perform his tasks that are so essential to our mission success? Colleges and universities are crammed with a great variety of courses in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, chemical engineering, indeed in almost every conceivable kind of engineering. Manufacturing skills and techniques are taught in literally hundreds of vocational schools, and college-level courses are available for some of the more esoteric techniques. And as a supplement to these formal and generally available curricula, both government and industry have sponsored in-house training and educational activities to boost the capability level of our engineering and manufacturing personnel. The unfortunate truth is that formal academic training is virtually non-existent in the field of logistics. A brief conceptual course in maintainability and maintenance engineering, a general familiarization program on logistics functions maybe, but nowhere is there an in-depth college-level curriculum designed to educate the logistician we have assigned the responsibility for properly expending virtually billions of dollars in the performance of tasks we recognize as essential to mission success. The development of the logistician in both industry and government has been primarily a matter of chance, not plan. The logisticians themselves have slowly created worthwhile techniques and substantial levels of expertise. And this body of information and know-how is passed on from man to man and from group to group. I'm sure all of us readily agree that this is a slow, costly, and very limited manner of providing the kind of professional support we need today. It is my feeling that we, in this room tonight, have both the opportunity and the responsibility to take action to remedy this situation. The mere volume of money involved in logistics activities makes it an important requirement. The training of logistics personnel is now a national problem, and the formation of this new society of logistics engineers gives us the golden opportunity to take the lead in solving that problem. You in this audience have the experience and know-how which needs to be shared with those just entering the field of logistics. What is the best method for importing this valuable information? Would it not be feasible to develop a complete educational program designed to produce qualified logistics engineers to meet this increasingly stringent requirement of both government and industry? 3 sets of goals could be the building blocks for this program. Short-term goals would provide for interchange of logistics information and know-how as to techniques, advances in the state of the art, and projected new requirements. These objectives could be accomplished through the holding of symposia, seminars, and short courses. Such activities have in the past been largely a fallout or a subordinate topic in meetings held by professional groups whose primary interests lay in other specialties. As a result, the logistics aspects considered have usually been presented piecemeal with no substantial value to the broad impact of logistics as an essential part of the system's whole. The Marshall Space Flight Center will certainly do all it can to support and assist with the meetings that will help attain these short-term goals. In the category of intermediate goals, a joint effort between industry and government agencies might develop specific educational objectives for career development of the logistician. It would undoubtedly call for rather heavy participation by educators to assure proper relationships of the disciplines identified with the mosaics of disciplines already available. Such a study might be undertaken under auspices of the Society of Logistics Engineers. The intermediate program might also contain college-level specialized courses involving such subject matter as maintainability analysis, and measurement, logistics cost-effectiveness analysis techniques, life cycle costing determination, incentive contract management, maintenance analysis procedures, quantitative and qualitative logistic personnel identification methods, spare selection techniques, and computerized inventory control systems. As for the long-term objectives, college degree programs might be established in logistics, including graduate-level courses based on joint studies with the academic community to define and refine the logistics disciplines into a professional career structure. We have had some very preliminary informal discussions with the University of Alabama officials, and they were receptive to this proposal and eager to discuss it further. Logistics scholarship funds and programs could be sponsored by interested agencies. There's a need for research aimed at developing scientifically sound predictive tools for use in logistics cost and performance planning and measurement. And there's a need for survey-type courses for the orientation of engineering, marketing, contract, financial, and other personnel having frequent interface requirements with logisticians. These are, of course, only suggestions for your consideration. You are the experts who could outline the educational requirements for enabling logistics to come of age as a true profession with all that the term implies for career planning and development. The Society of Logistics Engineers is the appropriate vehicle for moving an imaginative program of this kind forward. I understand the Society has already set for itself a series of goals in the areas of education and research. I urge it to pursue these goals to fulfillment, and I hope that all of us in industry and government will fully support and participate in its performance. I believe that this new professional society can make really significant contributions to the improvement of the general well-being of the nation and the world. In a sense, all of us are involved deeply in and depend upon logistics to sustain ourselves. The need for more highly trained, capable logistics engineers is obviously great today, and the need will become greater in the future. We are already late in preparing to meet that need. This society can also perform a useful service in the unification and direction of the logistics engineers in their efforts to support our world of tomorrow. You can help to make it the most exciting and most abundant era mankind has ever seen. I wish you well. Thank you.